In September 2016, classified State Department emails appeared on front pages across the world. Inside them, a Lebanese-American lobbyist writing to a senior U.S. State Department official named Patrick Kennedy. The message was simple. A man needed 5 minutes. A very important man. His name was Gilbert Chagoury. He had donated $460,000 to the Clinton Foundation, and he wanted direct access to the United States State Department, while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. The email was not hidden. It was on file. It was processed. The meeting was arranged. The world asked, who is this man? How does a Lebanese-Nigerian billionaire walk into the U.S. State Department through a foundation door? To answer that question, you have to go back much further, all the way to a city that did not exist until he built it. Abuja is Nigeria's capital. 6 million people live there. Government ministries, federal courts, the presidential villa, the National Assembly, embassies, monuments, all of it sits on land that was savanna until the 1980s. Nigeria decided to build a new capital from scratch in 1976, a clean break from Lagos, a neutral city in the geographic center of the country. The man who built much of it was not Nigerian. He was the son of Lebanese immigrants, born in Lagos in 1946, who had already spent a decade building relationships with Nigerian military generals during the oil boom. His name was Gilbert Chagoury, and when Nigeria decided to build a city, he had the contracts, the equipment, the workforce, and most importantly, the relationships to make himself indispensable. The Chagoury family arrived in Nigeria before independence. They built what immigrant trading families always build in their adopted countries, quietly, persistently, without drawing attention. By 1971, Gilbert and his brother Ronald had co-founded the Chagoury Group. They were not the biggest company in Nigeria. They were the most connected. The key insight Gilbert Chagoury understood early and never forgot was this. In a country cycling through military coups and civilian governments, contracts were the only currency that outlasted regimes. If you build a general's ministry, the next government still needs that ministry. If you build a president's road, the next president still drives on it. Physical infrastructure cannot be undone by a change of government. So he built and built and built ministries, secretariats, highways, hotels, and with every structure that rose from the Nigerian earth, his position became harder to displace. By the early 1990s, Gilbert Chagoury had become something beyond a businessman. He had become essential. Every government that came to power in Nigeria, and they came and went with alarming speed, found the same man waiting in the anteroom, smiling, useful, irreplaceable. And then, in 1993, a general named Sani Abacha seized power. Abacha was different from the others. He was not just authoritarian. He was systematically looting the Nigerian treasury at a scale that had no precedent. Estimates suggest Abacha stole between $3 and $5 billion during his 5 years in power. He needed someone to help him move it, and Gilbert Chagoury was there. Swiss investigators, working through the 1990s to trace Abacha's stolen billions, found the same name appearing in financial structures across multiple jurisdictions. They found Chagoury at the center of transactions that helped move Abacha's money. Not in a dark room, through banks, through companies, through the invisible architecture of offshore finance that processes billions every day in full legal daylight. The Swiss launched formal proceedings. The evidence was specific enough to compel action. In 2000, a Swiss court convicted Gilbert Chagoury of money laundering and aiding a criminal organization, fining him roughly £1 million Swiss francs and forfeiting $66 million to Nigeria. He avoided prison. The conviction was quietly expunged 2 years later. But $66 million is not a charitable donation. It is the price of closing an investigation. And it was paid, and life continued. Here is what made Gilbert Chagoury structurally untouchable after 2000. He held a diplomatic passport, not Nigerian, not Lebanese, from São Tomé and Príncipe, a tiny island nation off the West African coast, population 200,000, whose diplomatic passports provide legal protections in jurisdictions where a Nigerian or Lebanese passport would not. This was not an accident. This was architecture. A diplomatic passport from a country most Nigerians cannot find on a map, held by the man who built Nigeria's capital city. A conviction quietly erased. Nigeria itself had never prosecuted him. The United States was about to let him through the front door of its State Department because he was too useful to stop. The Clinton Foundation connection reveals exactly how modern power operates. $460,000 donated to a prestigious international foundation. Foundation connections provide access to its principals. Principals have relationships across governments. A Lebanese-American lobbyist makes a call. An email is sent to Patrick Kennedy, one of the most senior career officials in the US State Department. 5 minutes is all that's needed. The meeting was about Lebanese politics. Chagoury has deep ties in Lebanon to the Christian Maronite political networks that have shaped Lebanese politics for decades. After the 2006 Hezbollah-Israel war, he personally pledged $200 million for Lebanese reconstruction. He is a political force in a country he does not govern. But in 2016, those Lebanese connections, those foundation donations, and that State Department email created a scandal that briefly made Gilbert Chagoury one of the most Googled names in the world. The US Justice Department investigated whether he had failed to register as a foreign agent. No charges were filed. He was never charged, never convicted on that count, never stopped. While the world was watching the Clinton emails, something else was happening off the coast of Lagos. A city was rising from the ocean. Eco-Atlantic is a land reclamation project of extraordinary ambition. Chagoury's group is dredging sand from the Atlantic seabed and depositing it on the shore of Victoria Island, Lagos, creating new land where there was only water. The plan, 10 square kilometers of new real estate. A financial district, luxury apartments, international hotels, embassies, a marina, a new city. Inside the mega-city, built by the man who already built Nigeria's capital. The Great Wall of Lagos, a 700-meter sea barrier protecting the reclaimed land, stands as the most visible piece of civil engineering in Nigeria. Critics noted something the promotional videos did not feature: the fishing communities whose livelihoods depended on the shoreline that Chagoury's dredgers were permanently transforming. Communities that had fished Lagos waters for generations, displaced by a construction project that would build luxury apartments for people who never knew they existed. In 2026, Eco-Atlantic's Phase 1 is substantially complete. International banks have moved in, embassies have taken offices. A promenade runs along the Atlantic edge of a city built on reclaimed seabed. Gilbert Chagoury, in his 80s, splits his time between Monaco, Paris, and Lagos. He has outlasted 12 Nigerian heads of state. Today, in 2026, the Chagoury Group employs tens of thousands of Nigerians. The physical infrastructure of Nigeria's capital stands as his most durable monument. Every government that has come to power since Abacha has found the same man, or his companies, embedded in the projects they depend on. President Tinubu's administration, like every administration before it, operates in ministries the Chagoury Group built. A Swiss conviction, a US guilty plea, a civil forfeiture years later. None of it has slowed a single contract. He gives to Lebanese hospitals. He funds reconstruction in Beirut. He builds cities on the ocean. And somewhere in Lagos, in a neighborhood that no longer exists, because it was dredged into the foundation of a luxury marina, an old fisherman is trying to explain to his son what the shoreline used to look like. Back to that State Department email. Back to the 5-minute meeting. The man who needed 5 minutes with the US State Department was the same man who built Nigeria's capital, the same man convicted in Switzerland, later quietly expunged from the record. The same man who holds a diplomatic passport from São Tomé and Príncipe. The same man who is right now building a new city on the floor of the Atlantic Ocean, off the coast of the country where he was born. A country he has shaped more profoundly than most of its elected leaders. Gilbert Chagoury never ran for office. He never commanded soldiers. He never made a speech to a crowd. He just built things and made himself impossible to remove. In 2026, the buildings are still standing. The reclaimed land is still growing. And the question that his story leaves unanswered, the question that every country with a man like him eventually has to ask, is this: when private power builds the physical infrastructure of a state, who does the state actually belong to? No court has slowed him down for long. If that ever changes, you'll find it here